I know the whole sad beige mom thing has been going on for a while, but I feel like it's still taking over the motherhood niche on TikTok. I first got exposed to sad beige moms from the official Sad Beige Mom on TikTok, which I assume most of you, if not all of you, have already seen her videos. They're so funny.
Welcome to Werner Herzog's new line of children's clothing. Sad beige clothes for sad beige children. This one I call the velvet flare of despair. For she knows that sheep farming is a rough life, one that will bring many a callus to the hands of the heart.
Just lighthearted, making fun of how sad these children look in the sad beige clothes. And then following this, a bunch of self-claimed sad beige moms started jumping on the trend, making fun of this aesthetic motherhood lifestyle they've chosen.
A day in the life of sad beige babies. We eat plain Cheerios for breakfast because mom says fruit and vegetables are too colorful. We play with our sad beige toys. We stare at the beige wall all day because mum says it's too colorful outside.
If you're a Montessori parent, please give me tips on how I can remove the color from my child's life. I've switched out the clothes in his closet, changed out blankets in his room. I've started peeling fruit before I give it to him, but it's frustrating sometimes because it's still colorful inside. I've started switching out his toys for more neutral versions, and if that's not an option, I just sand the paint away. But I'm looking for more tips because color just isn't my aesthetic.
But then since then, there's been a ton of pushback from people saying that mothers shouldn't be putting their aesthetic desires ahead of your baby's desires because neon's not the vibe. And I get that, but I think there's a lot more to the story. So I want to dive into it with you today and maybe give more perspective on it. If you're wondering about myself, if you're like, this is just a sad beige mom trying to defend sad beige moms. I am kind of a midway, like a medium beige mom, where I started off pretty sad beige, and as my children have gotten older, there's been a lot more additions of color to the house. Anyways, that's my little background. Let's get into why this aesthetic started. I think a lot of it comes from adjusting to new parent life. Whether you were planning to have a baby or it happened by surprise, either way, it's such a big life change, and I think mothers specifically try to hold on to their previous life so it's not such a jarring shift, because Lord knows it will rock your world in one way or the other. And so you can't really blame them for trying to keep what they know and like while a whole other entity enters their home. And you may call that selfish, self-centered, but even further to the point, there are a lot of struggles to be had postpartum, new baby life, new mom life. And I don't blame moms for trying to take control of whatever they can when the rest of their life feels like it's in chaos. So going for this sad beige aesthetic isn't just like a random color that was picked, but it's a calming environment, it's low stimulation, it's relaxing, trying to counter the craziness of newborn life. I found this one TikTok of a lady explaining for herself why it's been very important to be a beige mom in her journey through motherhood.
So I guess per definition on TikTok, I would be considered a beige mom. But I'm here to tell you, I'm not a beige mom. I'm just an overstimulated, overwhelmed, very anxious mom. There's a difference. I'm just a regular mom trying to heal through her childhood while raising childs and trying not to screw up their childhood. And the clutter and the colors are just too loud for me. They're just too loud for me. So I'm not a beige mom. I'm just a mom trying to not have all the loud things constantly yelling at her every day, including the kids.
So yeah, I just feel like sometimes it can be in the best interest of the kids to have less noisy, loud, visually loud toys so that the mother isn't as overstimulated and can parent better, hopefully. For myself, I was really excited to enter motherhood and ready for the change, so I didn't really lean on that too much, but I liked dressing my babies in neutral, simple patterns because I felt like it put the baby on display instead of their outfit. I don't know, it didn't get that deep, but I'm just like, I want to see my baby for who they are, not this like crazy pattern all over them. But I'm also a minimalist, so like there's that too. I've also heard a lot of people say that the baby's room should be made for the baby based on what baby's like, not what you like. And I think that's just a bit extra when babies don't even like anything. And usually the baby's room is a nursery, which means it's aligned to what your baby needs. And then as your child gets older, it gets turned into a toddler room, a children's room, I guess. And as that progression happens, normally your children's preferences get added into the mix, and more color, more cartoon characters, just typically that's what happens because you want to make your child happy and enjoy their room. And when they're a baby, the room is really for the mom in a lot of ways, not because the baby doesn't need much. So now let's talk about, do children even need color? A lot of people get really upset saying that it's sad that children don't get to experience color, as if they don't interact with color in other areas of their life. Just because the walls are white, the outfits are beige, the block set is natural wood, doesn't mean they aren't getting color exposure in other areas, from the board books they're reading in the morning to the veggies and fruit and berries that they're eating for dinner. Like, there's a lot of color to be had in just regular living. And this is where I get hung up because, again, I'm hearing these creators talk about how it's unnatural and abnormal for children to be cut off from color exposure. But I actually think it's the opposite. If you look at like the most natural way of living, the way children have been raised for centuries, millennia, since the dawn of time, children have always been raised with green grass, blue sky, and a lot of brown and a lot of gray. The essentials used for everyday life, like their shelter, was made from gray rocks, brown wood, brown mud. And not to say that this is the standard for children's lives, but I just feel like it's normal to not be bombarded with color all day long. And it is technically more natural to have it be experienced sporadically throughout your day when you're like picking berries, or I don't know what else you would do, pick flowers. Another example, let's talk about the oldest toy in the world that was in 2008 inducted into the National Toy Hall of Fame, and that is the stick. On the National Museum of Play's website, they talk about the stick, saying sticks can turn into swords, magic wands, majorette batons, fishing poles, and lightsabers. When children pretend with sticks, they cultivate their creativity and develop their imaginations. They explore as they search outdoors for just the right one. Children build with sticks, bat balls with them, and walk with them. They are the original building blocks for creative play. Sticks also promote free play, the freedom to invent and discover. And you know, no one's arguing that the stick isn't colorful enough or stimulating enough. It just is the best open-ended toy. And with all that being said, I don't think we need to by any means keep color away from our children. I just want to justify that it is a normal way to live without rainbows everywhere. But why have rainbows become the standard of children's toys? Well, research does show that children tend to prefer bright colors because it's easier for their young developing eyes to see. But this fact is actually what makes it a massive marketing technique. People are always talking about how millennials and Gen Z are essentially screwed from all the overstimulation from our phones, but I feel like it all started with Fisher-Price. Bright colors stimulate desire and attraction, but too much of it can overwhelm your child, just as it can overwhelm ourselves. There's actually a study done on the disruptive effects of colorful versus non-colorful play areas on structured play. This was done with a sample size of 15 preschoolers ages 3 to 4. They examined whether colorful play surfaces compared to non-colorful, a white play surface, would affect the engagement in structured play. Children played each game twice, once with the white background, once with the colorful background. And they say when comparing across conditions, we found that the children demonstrated a significantly higher frequency of interfering behaviors. So in summary, the present findings suggest that excessive colorfulness, which is often used to create enriched environments and is considered developmentally beneficial to children, impacts children's behavior in ways that may be indicative of interference to their engagement in structured play tasks. That's a lot of words. Basically, they're saying that kids get really distracted when there's too many colors going on and they're not able to focus on the task at hand. So there you have it. Now keep in mind, it is a small sample size of 15 children and it's one study, but I do feel like this is kind of common sense of if you look at yourself, like we're not that much different than children. If there's too much going on, we have a hard time focusing on the thing that matters. So with all that being said, are sad beige moms choosing this aesthetic to counter the marketing ploys to overstimulate their children? Probably not. They probably just like the colors and are choosing that for their home. But I still don't think it's a big deal. I just wanted to do all this to say there's no harm in doing that. Again, I can't speak for every mom. I don't know if there's any of them out there who really restrict color for their whole childhood, but a lot of the moms I see online start quite beige and add color as their children show desire for it. But I also want to say I don't condemn any moms who have all the colors, the bells and whistles, all the loud noisy toys in their home, because if Fisher-Price isn't getting to the children, TikTok will. We're all doomed.